half
1/2.
a sixth
1/6.
The airing of lessons for learners who are currently at home started yesterday on different radio stations across the country. The priority has been given to P4 and P5 classes.
About this time of the current lockdown, the P4s and the P5s were scheduled to return home and have a break. This actually explains why we have study materials that have been distributed to the P4s and the P5s ready.
According to the ministry, some classes received study materials before their schools were closed, while arrangements are being made to ensure study materials are available to learners of other classes.
Ministry is currently in the process of procuring study materials for learners from P1 to P4. This procurement process is ongoing.
However, Philbert Baguma, the General Secretary of the Uganda National Teachers Union, doubts the effectiveness of lessons conducted on radios and TVs.
True, some learners will benefit from them, but nobody can tell the magnitude. How many learners, for example, benefit from TV lessons? Even the distribution of materials. When you are printing these materials, you cannot tell which classes are in which village.
Baguma says radio and TV lessons cannot be monitored and assessed. It is therefore impossible to evaluate the outcome.
And nobody can tell you that this is the number of learners who benefited from radios. And therefore, finally, when schools reopen, you cannot say, during radio lessons, this is where we started and this is where we ended, and therefore we begin from there.
They found the distribution of study materials during the first lockdown lacking.
Now, how do you distribute materials during this COVID? You are saying you are restricting the interaction of people. At the same time, you are saying you are printing materials to take. Now, who is taking them and who is distributing them?
Inter-district transportation issue is an issue that is going to be discussed during the Education Task Force, Education COVID-19 Task Force meeting that will be held on Thursday this week.
The union's General Secretary also faults the selection of teachers who featured on air.
At some times there was a misrepresentation of facts on radios, which is unfortunate.
According to Baguma, the ideal solution should be to find a way of living with COVID in schools as government thinks about a decent plan of developing a long-term e-learning infrastructure. However, Mary Goreti Nakabugo, the executive director of Uwezo Uganda, believes that any single intervention during this crisis should be embraced by the public.
Even before the pandemic, there was a scarcity of reading materials in homes. Our research previously has investigated that case, and apart from the reading notes that children have, most homes actually don't have anything like a reading material. So we saw this in a way, in quotes, as a blessing in disguise.
During the current lockdown, Nakabugo advises government to identify the marginalized learners and give them priority in the distribution of study material.
Sources are limited. Can we first target those ones? This is not to exclude others, because all children of Uganda belong to the nation.
Patrick Senyondo, NTV.